Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the regular City Council meeting for Thursday, June 23rd, 2016. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Ms. Pazur. Here. Ms. Etzel. Present. Mr. Spinks.
Present.
Mayor Abou-Osley.
Here.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Sternad.
Present.
Mr. Draper.
Here.
At this time, we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Tonight we are presenting a proclamation for Ride Your Motorcycle to Work Day. Is there somebody here to accept the proclamation? Okay. I'll come down. Ready?
Ready.
Whereas 100 years ago, in the summer of 1916, Sisters Augusta and Adeline Van Buren became the first women to ride across the continent, coast to coast on their own motorcycles, and came through Marion, Iowa. In support of the National War Preparedness Movement, women's suffrage, and to demonstrate the ability of women to serve the nation in any capacity, including the hazardous job of Army motorcycle dispatch riding. And whereas in July 2016, over 100 women will ride on motorcycles across the country and through Marion on Monday, July 11th, to commemorate this historic event and to raise funds to support housing for homeless female U.S. veterans and motorcycle education. And whereas the City of Marion recognizes the ability and value of all its community members to serve the country, state, and city at every level and in every capacity, and supports efforts to aid all U.S. veterans. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Abou-Osley, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim July 11, 2016 as Ride Your Motorcycle to Work Day in the City of Marion, and urge residents to show their support for the Sisters Centennial Motorcycle Ride by welcoming the riders to the city from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. in City Square Park. Okay. We'll move on to citizens' presentations, comments, petitions. Is there anyone here who would like to speak?
I would like to speak, but he's not here yet.
Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. We'll move on to the consent calendar.
Yes, Your Honor, I have the consent calendar, if I can get it open here. Consent calendar is dealing with Resolution 25-390 to Resolution 25-410, items number 1 through items number 28. I move approval. I've had no one wanting to withdraw anything. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar, including items 1 through 28 and resolutions numbers 25390 through 25410. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent calendar with yourself abstaining from voting and discussion regarding the following items as presented. Resolutions 25,397, 25,398, and 25,411.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar with my abstention, including resolutions numbers 25397, 25398, and 25411. Any discussion on these items?
Yes, on number 29, is that part of the cell phone, the Verizon? No, it's CenturyLink. Is that part of the cell phone network that's going in?
No, that's internet cabling.
Okay,
It's currently on the poles on 7th, and it'll go underground.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Okay, yes, this is resolution number 25412, approving the carryover of certain items from fiscal year 15-16 to fiscal year 16-17.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25412, approving the carryover of certain items from fiscal year 15-16 to 16-17. Discussion. Everyone understands what this is? We went over it on Tuesday? Okay. Okay, seeing no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 25412, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 25413, approving the transfer of unexpended funds from the unemployment accounts to the Employee Benefits Fund for FY 15-16.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25413, approving the transfer of unexpended funds from the unemployment accounts to the Employee Benefits Fund for fiscal year 15-16. Discussion. No discussion? Okay. All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the following liquor license application. New application for a Class B beer permit with additional privileges for outdoor service and Sunday sales for Cedar Rapids Freedom Festival, DBA Freedom Festival, 4500 North 10th Street, special event Freedom Ride and Airwaves concert on 6/26/16.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve an application for Class B beer permit for outdoor service for the Cedar Rapids Freedom Festival on June 26, 2016. And this is
Sunday.
Pardon? It's going to be at Law Park, correct? Okay. Discussion.
Have we had beer sales out there before, Mike?
Yes, we have on certain events. They will have beer tents. The last one that we had was the Rotary. That was a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
We fenced that off for that too, and that's a ticket sale event similar to this.
No rowdiness, right?
I can't speak to that.
Oh.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I wasn't in town.
All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Randy?
Your Honor, I make a motion for resolution number 25414 approving affidavit with Cedar Rapids Lynn County Solid Waste Agency for the curbside recycling program incentive.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25414, approving an affidavit with Cedar Rapids Lynn County Solid Waste Agency for curbside recycling program incentives. Discussion?
This is approving that rate for the rate hike for the,
What this is approving is the agency is going to provide the city of Marion a credit of just over $66,000, and the purpose of that credit is to sustain or limit the recycling and tipping fees right now. If we did not approve this, our tipping fees for recycling would be $85 per ton. With this incentive program, it will be reduced to about $34 a ton. So we're not stuck with this. We can, anytime we want to appeal this, we need to give them notice, I believe 90 days. So we're going to recommend executing this.
they have an escape clause in it.
Yes.
You know, the difference in the recycling fee, again, I'm in favor of putting it all in the garbage. And we could buy new trucks for the difference in the cost of what they want to charge us for recycling.
Potentially, but we do have a solid waste ordinance which we want to stick to the hierarchy of disposal per the state code. And that's what we're going to do for now.
So will there be a proposal presented to us to approve that higher rate, for the higher rate that they're proposing for recycling?
So if we don't approve this, we automatically would go to that rate.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
If
what I
we
wanted to
do
know.
approve this, that's what we're approving is the credit, which reduces our rate down to 34.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yep.
That's what this is doing.
That's what this is doing. This is
Okay.
triggering that rate decrease. Yep.
Okay.
But it's still increasing from
It's still,
20.
yeah.
It's increasing from $20 to $34. Correct.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to hear, is that it's not something later on that we do. It's this is it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I wanted to hear.
And so that's where you're approving the affidavit. It's in your council packet. It says right there what you're approving.
Okay.
Brian, what's their incentive to give us the credit?
Obviously, they want to support curbside recycling, okay? And how it works is that, and how it has worked for years, in the past, City Carton has owned the Regional Recycling Center. Republic Services or Allied has purchased that from City Carton. With that, they have a lot of capital expenditures going into the facility. We're paying for that with the rate increase. Additionally, commodities, as we discussed on Tuesday, are down. So recycling is not worth it. For the longest time, we have always paid the Solid Waste Agency a fee out there to transfer the recycling to the recycling center over in Cedar Rapids. All right? They have always received a rebate off the recycling. Even though they're paying them a fee to get that at the end of the year, they still get that rebate. All right? So in their budget books, it may show that they have expenditures of $300,000 to $400,000 in tipping fees at the recycling center, but every year they get a rebate, and that rebate's based on the commodity market of the recycling, as they indicated on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so what they're essentially doing is just passing that rebate back to us, which they've never done before. And so what this is doing is keeping the curbside recycling program intact and keeping their rebate infrastructure intact with Republic Services. If they did not do this with cities would not recycle. Therefore, they probably would not have a contract with Republic Services. It's a long answer. It's a little complex, but that's why they're doing this. And obviously, their job is to encourage recycling as well. Basically it.
And the incentive is for a year, correct?
The incentive is for this year. They have signed a 3-year contract with Republic. And what we're going to do is monitor the rebates that they're getting back. So as soon as the commodity market starts picking up, obviously we want to go back to the table and say, hey, until that time, we're going to have some options. Here pretty soon, we're going to have options. And so that's going to impact their agreement with Republic as well. So for what the Public Services Board is recommending, that we'll do this for about a year, and after that, we'll have options.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 25414, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have one no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, ordinance number 1606, amending section 513 of the Code of Ordinances regarding places of residence of certain city employees. Second consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-06, amending the Code of Ordinances regarding the place of residence of certain city employees. Second consideration. Discussion.
There hasn't been any problem legally, has there? Anything that had been brought up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I mean, this is a total agreement as far as the time and the distance and all this.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of ordinance number 16-06, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to suspend the rules and place ordinance 16-06 concerning the place of residence for final consideration.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to suspend the rules and to vote on the final consideration of ordinance number 16-06. Okay, discussion. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution 25,415 approving a contract with Snyder and Associates regarding the 2016 Albernet Road Extension Project concept study in the amount of $248,950. Although I don't really move to approve this. I'm just getting it
Read.
out.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, well, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25415.
Now, does this include any work on this? I mean, you know,
So,
that's
I think-
$250,000.
So, Dan explained to us on Tuesday some of what goes into this, because I had the same questions. So maybe you can just recap, Dan, what this all entails.
Yeah, the scope of the contract includes all the original survey, all the topography, all the field work. It will include the modeling, field work and modeling of the creek to allow for justification of a non-rise permit from the DNR for the bridge once it's constructed. I guess I can go into that a little bit if you want. It includes survey of the alignment all the way from above Boyson Road down to 7th Avenue. It includes studying the intersection of 7th Avenue and configuration, preliminary design of that configuration of that intersection to provide whether it's going to fit there or not and what type it should be. It includes all the environmental as far as core drillings and study of that. It includes archaeological study, which they will go through and do all the preliminary work for the permitting of archaeological approval by the DOT. There is historical evaluation of all the buildings prior to 1950 in the entire corridor, which there are 20 or so. Includes delineation of all the wetlands along the corridor, which is quite a bit around Indian Creek. It includes the preliminary design and profile design of the paving and the bridge from one end to the other. It's a selection of a type of bridge, the length of the bridge and the style of the bridge going across Indian Creek. It includes the estimation of the entire project in each phase within the corridor. It'll include a street lighting design. I can go on, I guess.
Did you mention?
It'll be about this thick.
Did you mention an analysis of the railroad bridge too on 7th, right? Didn't you say whether or not?
Yeah, it'll evaluate that intersection and whether that intersection fits with or without the current bridge, the railroad bridge.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that bothers me is I know that a number of years ago, John Schlotterbeck was very interested in exactly this same thing, and I know a study was done. And is any of that being used?
We had a study done that, what year was that? Yeah, somewhere in the 90s, that they provided they provided 3 or 4 alignments. The council had adopted one, and that's the one we're using, and council readopted it 3 or 4 years ago. That study really did that. That's all it really did was look at traffic studies, the impacts and the improvements to 10th Street that would create. It was about this thick.
Well, can anything be used from that study?
We're currently using the alignment. There was not a lot of stuff in there, and as you can imagine, all the environmental, everything, as long as the DNR, the EPA, all those rules have changed completely from that date.
Oh, I know the archaeological thing especially.
But it sounds to me like this takes care of all the preparatory work. That
Totally gets us up
leads you up to actually constructing the road.
Permit application and not quite to construction, but it'll get us a set of plans that can then be prepared for letting, but they will not be letting viable, I guess.
You got to do some of the work. So
Wasn't it similar, Dan, to the plans or the project we did for Tower Terrace Road Bridge?
We did the same study for the bridge on Tower Terrace. This will be that plus more, quite a bit more actually.
But that was a good question, and I think we needed to hear that.
It's a pretty intensive study. It'll take 6 to 8 months.
It also sets it up nice if there are federal funds available that all of the appropriate groundwork has been done to get the federal funds. So like the Tower Terrace Road project, we got federal funds, and then you have to wait 2 years because of all this work that needs to be done to get to the funds. So that's
Staff's intent is, and the reason we asked for the $1.3 million of current funding is that this is the first step to completing the corridor. We would be back for more money in future years to construct the intersections, construct the bridge, complete the corridor. We're in pretty desperate need of this corridor right today, so we'd like to get it constructed in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, if you try to use 10th Street in the morning, you know why we need this corridor.
Yep.
Dan, do you feel that this bundled package is priced right for us if we were to take these out and break it apart and do an a la carte?
Yeah, engineering for a project this size can be in the 8 to 10% range, and if you're looking at $10 million, you're talking about $1 million in design work. We're at $250,000 for probably, I want to say, a third of the work to be performed, maybe even close to half, so I think we're doing really well.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, was this bid? Was this a bid?
Was not bid. We do not bid engineering services in Iowa, but we did receive 6 proposals. They did range, 7 proposals. They did range from $120,000 up to $482,000, I think it was. We picked one in the middle that we felt was the best scope and that we could work the best with those individuals and look at past experience with them and chose them.
Okay, thanks.
Where's Snyder and Associates from?
They're down on Bowling, just north of 30th.
Local.
Highway 30, I mean.
We have used them before.
We use them a lot, yeah. They did Blair's Ferry. They did Blair's Ferry Road last for us. They did the acquisitions, the alignment, the whole bit for that project. We were very happy with their services.
Okay. Other questions? All those in favor of resolution number 25415, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion passes.
Okay, motion to receive and file staff report regarding parking in Uptown Marion. Charles Knutson, 2835 24th Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive and file the staff report regarding parking in Uptown Marion in response to inquiries or questions by Charles Knutson. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of receiving and filing the report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, this is a motion to concur with the staff report regarding parking in Uptown Marion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to concur with the staff report regarding parking in Uptown Marion. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor, I want to shed some light on this. I've done some research on this as well over the last couple days, and for the benefit of Mr. Knutson and the recording here this evening, I want to bring some light to a couple of other topics that have been brought forward on this. In our code of 69.06, parking prohibited, it continues to say that no one shall stop, stand, or park a vehicle except when necessary to avoid conflict with other traffic or in compliance with the directions of a peace officer or traffic control device in any of the following places. What we've failed to see, and as an oversight, is we do have a hydrant located at that location that is right next to the sidewalk. According to line item number 6 under the same code, our fire hydrants must be maintained with a clear path of 5 feet in diameter of that fire hydrant. As I reviewed it today and stepped that out, Mr. Knutson has a valid concern that, we've only got a 30-foot versus a 50-foot, so I want to acknowledge that. But at this point, I'm going to request that make a motion to amend this motion to include that at the request to have this actually removed as a current loading zone designated to the code 69.06 line 6 prohibiting of the free space around the fire hydrant. So we need to be concerned with that as well too, and I want to make sure that we get that addressed.
Second that amendment.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to amend this motion.
I second.
You seconded. Yeah. To, can you restate that?
I'd be happy to, yes. So it would read so the following reading would be a motion to concur with staff report regarding parking in the Uptown Marion to include, to amend the inclusion of the request of the removal of the current loading zone designated due to code 69.06 line 6 being our fire hydrant restrictions.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to concur with the staff report and also remove the loading zone.
Correct.
That's really what. Okay. Discussion.
I have a discussion as a member of the Presbyterian Church. I would then be in favor of removing all parking from 5 foot from the fire hydrant to the corner for a loading zone for the Presbyterian Church. We've had it for years. We have a lot of drop-offs there. We have a lot of elderly members. And it makes sense to me to amend the amendment to remove parking from 5 foot from the fire hydrant, which makes sense, to the corner. And so the Presbyterians can utilize that for drop-off.
How?
Is that an amendment to the amendment?
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay, Don?
If he gets a second.
Okay, so we do have a second?
Yeah. So you're talking from the west.
I think we're going to have to vote on the first amendment first,
Yes.
clear that, and then come back and make a
Second
motion.
amendment and then the original.
Yeah. So with the discussion on that, I just want some clarification, and please, staff, please step in here. I took the time today to drive around And then I also went back to the office and spent 30 minutes while sipping on my coffee to try to find on Google Earth another designated loading zone in the city uptown of Marion, and I cannot find one. Can anybody give me another location? I look at these with all due respect, Councilman Draper. We got the Methodist Church diagonally across the adjacent property. They run into the same situation, no designated zones there. Can anybody give me an example of another loading zone? I'm not saying we shouldn't have them. I'm just trying to lead by example of asking where are they in town that we can follow suit.
Well, the Methodists, they pull off the street entirely to the eastern part of.
Right, they have a pull-through. So does the Presbyterian on their north side, which is their ADA designated location. In all fairness, I'm just asking, where do we have these? Because I cannot find them. I'm not saying we shouldn't have them, but I find that we have a lot of gap in our definition of what is I don't see anything in here about a loading zone. We've just designated a no parking area, but I'm just asking because I know we want to go through some of these codes and bring them up to date, review them a little bit because times have changed. And in fairness to Mr. Knutson, there's some things that have that are not consistent in here, but I think we're just repainting lines from year after year after year after year, and things are changing. And it's not to any department or any individual's fault that, we're reviewing some of these things today. So
The only places I'm aware of that are even close to that are 15-minute parking. We have 2 or 3 of those in the uptown, I think. Maybe 2, maybe. That's the only places I'm aware of. I can't think of any other. I don't know about anybody else.
Street.
Ma'am.
It's actually behind the curb. That's actually his driveway. Yeah, it's not an on-street.
The Methodists used to have a drop-off zone before 20 years ago when they built their canopy in the back where they now have a drop-off area. So both churches used to have a drop-off area there.
I think Tom could probably answer, though, but I would say any new facility would have to have their drop-off on private property.
Yeah. That's correct. Most of it's on private property.
So, Mr. Draper, are you saying that you would not have any of those parking places in front of?
I believe there's 2.
There's actually 3 to the curb.
Yeah.
Can I just make a suggestion? Let's continue.
I'm talking Sundays. I'm talking Sunday morning, guys.
But I think that Councilman Sternad's motion is a separate amendment is a separate matter from what you're proposing. I think if we deal with his first, and then we can come back and you can make your motion as another second amendment, and then we can discuss that. We can have all the discussion you want to. I just want to keep it, keep everything straight here, so we're not confusing things.
Yes, sir.
Is that okay? All right.
I withdraw my second to Councilman Draper's motion to amend the amendment.
So let's just continue with discussion on Councilman Sternad's amendment, or proposed amendment to the motion, which is removing the loading zone. Okay. So any further discussion on that?
So on the picture here, there's crosshatched in front of the fire hydrant. So are you saying what are you saying is different from that?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, John? I'm listening, but I'm not tracking as to what your question is.
Well, I'm looking at the photo, and there's a picture of the fire hydrant, and there's a hatched-out zone that's no parking there. So what are you asking to change?
Well, that's exactly right. So what we're designating this as is a unofficial loading zone, okay? But the code says that when we pull up to the side to drop people off, we are not in compliance because the wording says that no one shall stop, stand, or park a vehicle at any time in front of that fire hydrant.
Right.
So therefore, our interpretation of this loading zone is in violation of our code. So technically that should be striped off on the curb 5 feet in both directions like all fire. Chief, step in if at any moment here I'm out of line. It should be marked off 5 feet on both sides per the curb. That is no parking, no exceptions. And this is in violation of that. So when we do that, we will be, again, reducing this designated loading zone even smaller than what it should be.
Yeah, he's got that picture right there, the one on the right.
Correct.
That section of code also includes the ramp. You're not supposed to stop or pause in front of a ramp either. So that ramp being there actually extends that area of no parking, no stopping even farther than that. Staff was trying to maintain the drop-off area in some shape, is why we painted it as we did. However, in re-reviewing the code, as Randy has done and I have done as well, we find that it really is in non-compliance with more than just what we had previously found.
Okay. Other discussion on the amendment, the proposed amendment to the motion?
So that the hash marks like that is not what you would put if it was just no parking altogether? Is that, how would you label the street?
Well, there's different ways we could address it. We could either make it into a parking stall, or we really, by striping it, it's really a non-stopping, non-parking zone. There's not really a typical painting scenario for a drop-off reservation zone. We just use that because of the parking on both sides to keep it separated. There's different things we could look at. We could remove the striping. We could paint it yellow. I mean, it would be more appropriate to be yellow paint. I think it's white paint now. So that would be one way to do it. We could just remove it all together. We could take and make it a 20 or 30-foot long stall outside of that area. We don't paint curbs anymore, so there's not really, we'd have to put up a no parking sign in that area somewhere.
Yeah, what do you usually put in front of fire hydrants?
We don't usually do anything. It's up to the driver to acknowledge the code, 5 foot each side.
I think what I would make recommendation, and this is just my thought, is I'd hate to see us go through the expense of grinding that off. I would like to personally just turn that back into another parking stall, and if we want to address this no parking on the other side on the next amendment here, my thoughts, I guess, were is we just put that back into standard parking, because we're gonna, if we lose it on the other side, we might as well pick it up on this side.
We would do that if it's not in violation of the code. I'd have to look to see if there's room for a 20-foot stall in there.
Can we, Dan, on those, can we paint over them or something? I know they're starting to weather. I actually stood out there today stepping that out. Can we somehow just tar over the top of them to get rid of the stripes rather than go through the expense of grinding them off?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't we table this till we get to know what we're going to do?
Well, I would say there's no reason to table it. We're in violation of the hydrant. So if we move that back 5 feet, it's a moot point. We've taken a 30-foot stall back down to a 25-foot stall. Our stalls are 20. And again, with what Mr. Knutsen's saying and with this guide wire that's there, it still doesn't make it a favorable temporary loading zone.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, between the two, between yours and Mr. Draper's,
they're completely separate.
Okay.
They're completely separate issues.
Right.
That's all I got.
Hey, you told me to.
Any other discussion? Okay, so we'll vote on the amendment. So all those in favor of amending?
The amendment is 5 feet, so I understand. Sorry to.
Yeah,
is that right?
Let's
Well, the
clarify
amendment is
exactly
to
what we're
remove it.
What's that?
Amendments.
The amendment is to make that not a loading zone, to take away the loading
To
zone.
remove it.
And
To
just have
remove it.
The
Stripe or whatever.
city's also then going to take the ramp out of there and put a curbing in, I assume?
That whole, if you look at it, the whole side of that road needs to be redone anyway.
We could take the ramp out. We probably should. I don't know that we would do anything with the curb, but
Let me throw that back. So the Methodist Church up the street has 2 ramps, and they lead right directly onto 8th Avenue.
Oh.
Why would we deviate from that?
You want to add one here? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is what you have here, and you go right up the street here. The Methodist Church has 2 of them exactly the same as what yours is.
Right.
right there they are. So my question is, why go through the expense? Right there they are, 1 and 2. Actually, there's 3. Pardon me, no, I'm sorry, that's 2. There's a downspout there. I'm just asking why go through the trouble and the expense of tearing out the...
They have 3 times the membership of the Presbyterian Church.
Okay, now we're going to get into that one.
Okay, so everyone understands what the amendment is? It's to make, to remove the ability to have a loading zone there.
And just make it 5 foot on either side of the fire hydrant, no parking, period. Correct?
Well, that's the code already, so we're not changing the code on the fire hydrants. My amendment, I'll go back. My amendment request is to remove the designated parking stall. Temporary loading zone.
Loading zone.
If I may.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a unique circumstance because most hydrants are on corners. Therefore, there's no parking usually on the corners. This is unique in that the fire hydrant is in the middle of the block. That's why that is marked off at this time. So that's the way it needs to stay.
So is that inconsistent with the amendment, Chief?
No.
Okay. Clarifying. Okay? Everyone understands the amendment?
So.
All right. All those in favor of the amendment to the motion to remove the temporary loading zone, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
We have 2 noes. Correct? Motion passes. Yes. Okay, so now we have an amended motion. Do we have another amendment?
Well, I believe that Slug withdrew her second from my motion.
I did, so you have to start over.
Yes, sir, I would like to move that we, from 5 foot beyond the fire hydrant towards the corner, we have and set aside a legal distance of, I believe, 30 feet for a drop-off zone for the Presbyterian Church.
Second.
Okay.
I would only suggest that within that motion include the removal of the parking that exists there now. You have parking there now that you would have to remove before doing that, so it probably needs to be part of the motion.
Okay, so move what Dan said.
Okay, so now we have
One parking place.
a motion and a second to further amend this motion to create another loading zone, right? Is that correct?
I want clarification as well. You want a 30-foot reservation area.
Is that what I thought that's what we said
but
Tuesday.
You want it to the east of the 5-foot setback from the hydrant.
I do.
And remove parking, whatever's necessary to provide that.
Right. Which I believe is one parking place.
Okay.
Probably. We do have a conflict. The ramp would have to come out. Otherwise, we have a conflict in code as well with the ramp.
And we could tag it Sundays, I mean, we're talking Sundays.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying that this all came about because we're in violation of the code. So I want to make sure that we meet the code when we're done. Otherwise, we'll be back here when we're done and starting over again.
So we take that ramp. So we'd have to take the one ramp out and put another one in?
No.
Okay.
If I just clarify that we would start the 30-foot reservation at the east side of the ramp and allow for that reservation area east of there, and whatever parking is required to be removed would be removed.
Okay.
Are we still in open
east or
discussion?
west?
Pardon?
Are we still in open discussion?
Yes.
What if we entertained a couple of options here? Rather than designate this as being no parking 5 days a week, 22 hours, can we entertain no parking on Sundays by signage? I know we're dealing with now trafficking, obviously, patrolling that, and I find it difficult to take that much area out for 6 days out of the week with no parking. I'm just trying to walk through this and bring a resolution to some of that.
Ryan, could we do 15-minute parking on Sunday morning? That would probably be the way to do it. in the current stalls that are there now.
What are your thoughts on that?
Preacher preaches about an hour and a half.
Unless you're in there.
I just think on Sundays, we could designate it a drop-off zone, 30 feet, period. Now, if you want to go to the corner and do that, and take 6 feet or 5 feet from your fire hydrant and line those parking off and go to the corner, and they have a sign that says, no parking here to corner, drop-off zone, that would work as well. And that wouldn't take it in the middle.
It looks like currently that between the last parking stall and the ramp at the corner, there's about 25 or 30 feet there already.
So the thing too we want to bring back to the table is we're discussing a 30-foot, not a 50-foot, which is what got this all started.
Yeah.
Because again, we don't have anything in here that talks about loading zones by title. There's nothing in here that says loading zone. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're acknowledging that we're designating a loading zone per se
Sundays.
on Sundays under these understandings.
And we'll put a cone out there. But to me, the more I think of it, it makes more sense to put it at the corner. Move your parking within 5 foot of where the hydrant is and
the corner there.
Go to the corner down there.
The other way from the, If I could, Your Honor. I don't know if you can enforce designated parking. It's not in the code book. So the only thing you can enforce is, like Dan said, 15-minute parking. Okay? So you can put a designated loading zone there, but you can't enforce it. We can put a sign up there. It's not going to do any good because it's not in the code. But I think that's what it's coming down to. So you have to come up with a parking restriction that's in the code of ordinances. So, or you got to write a new ordinance.
Well, we haven't worried about our current ordinance for
I
about
don't
40
disagree
years.
with that.
So
Yeah, but
to
I
write
think
a
if
new
you're
one-
looking for an easy solution, it would be a 15-minute parking. It serves the same purpose.
You get the same
Get
result.
the same results, and it becomes enforceable. Otherwise, you're utilizing resources for nothing.
Well, now, if that is the case, then all those restricted parking areas on 8th Avenue and 11th Street and 10th Street are moot.
No. These are unloading zones.
I need somebody.
Loading zones. Okay, those you can restrict parking anywhere. Okay, but we don't have anything in the books for loading zones. Okay, you can put something in
I
there.
was fine till you started talking.
Thanks for the
I knew
clarification.
where I
Okay,
was.
let's keep this orderly. So,
No.
anybody else have any comments on the motion to further amend the motion?
Well, we don't have a second, Mayor.
I
We don't?
seconded it.
Yeah, he did.
I seconded
Yeah.
Okay.
So you say take it to the corner of 8th and 12th and have the first stall there be a designated, or
Loading.
not a loading zone, but maybe a 15-minute parking.
Right.
Would it be more beneficial to the church to have it be that drop-off zone or 15-minute parking or an actual parking spot for the church on Sunday?
Well, we can, for funerals and things, we put cones out, and, in the morning. The ramp was really important until we built an elevator to the back of the church last year. And people do bring people in wheelchairs up to the elevator in the back. So the ramp doesn't have quite the importance it had prior to that. And that's why it does make a lot of sense to me to have that 15-minute or whatever drop-off area from the corner rather than the middle of the block. First of all, you can get in, you can pull up to the corner. You're going to have a hard time parking in the middle of the block there. So,
Paul, if we made that east stall a 15-minute parking, you would have a 15-minute stall plus 25 feet east of there, between there and the corner, that people either pull up to pull into that stall. It gives you a lot of options, I guess, as far as where they could pull up into there. You'd actually end up with about 45 feet of 15-minute or reservation there on a Sunday morning if it was signed properly.
If we want to withdraw the second, my next suggestion would be that we meet at the church with, Charlie and I are both members of that church. He is speaking as a citizen and not as president of that corporation. I'm the vice president of that corporation, so my argument is dealing pretty much with my church. But I think if we could maybe pass it without without the Second Amendment and plan a time when we could meet over there with our minister and our staff and try to figure that out, Dan, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, we already have a motion to amend, and it's been approved, so it would be just a matter of motion to approve.
Well, we've taken it away with the...
You can withdraw your...
Yeah, I would be willing to withdraw if the city would be willing to meet at the church with our folks over there so we can see if we can figure it out.
That makes sense to me. Okay. And then if we need to do something after that, we can bring it back and vote on it. Okay, so that motion has been withdrawn, so we have an amended motion to concur with the staff report regarding parking in Uptown Marion and to remove the designation of the temporary loading zone.
I have one last question, Your Honor. Does the staff report regarding parking in the Uptown area deal with any other areas other than this area we're talking about?
No, some previous emails that we addressed as staff addressed some other areas. The request that was sent to council only addressed this section.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? We will vote. All those in favor?
Hold on.
Yes.
What are we voting on right now?
I thought we already voted.
We voted on...
No, we're voting on the amended motion.
The motion itself.
On Paul's
I thought you pulled it.
motion? I thought
No.
he withdrew it.
So
I withdrew mine.
what we approved was amending the motion.
Okay.
And then
Now
Paul
we're-
made an amendment that he's withdrawn, and now we have the amended motion that we have to approve.
For what Randy...
With Randy's...
Okay.
Okay. Which is concurring with the staff report and removing the designation of the temporary loading zone. Everybody clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Sorry, I must vote no.
We have 2 noes. Yes. Okay, the motion passes.
Your Honor, make a motion.
Number 4, though, now, right?
We're at
on
number 4.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so a motion to receive and file correspondence regarding TAC findings regarding uptown parking by First Presbyterian Church, Charles Knudsen, 2835 24th Avenue.
Second?
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to receive and file correspondence regarding the TAC findings regarding uptown parking by First Presbyterian Church. Any discussion?
So he sent a letter in after he got his letter from TAC?
Say that
Did you
again.
see this? So he sent in a letter after he got his letter from TAC?
I think that was his presentation on Tuesday.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay, other discussion? All those in favor of receiving and filing the correspondence, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Randy?
Now it's you.
Thank you. Your Honor, make a motion to concur with TAC report regarding a request to close 7th Avenue between 10th Street and 12th Street to vehicular traffic during all public events.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to concur with the TAC report regarding the request to close 7th Avenue between 10th Street and 12th Street to vehicular traffic during all public events. Discussion. And
Probably should mention what the TAC decision was.
Dan, do you want to summarize that?
Yeah, we looked at the request to close 7th Avenue between 7th and 10th, or between 10th and 12th Streets. We did give an extensive report about 18,000 vehicles daily, 20 to 25 events annually. The loss of 35 parking stalls would become unavailable, and the closure of the north entrance for the mall. Because of that, TAC was recommending denial of the request or no action at this time. I think it's important to understand that in 2 or 3 years this would be a viable request, but we don't feel that it is at this time.
Okay, so at some point in the future we could revisit it once the 6th Avenue corridor is complete.
I think there's a total interest by staff to do that at that time, yes.
And has any communication been made to the requesters?
Yeah, I sent a letter Monday, last week, to Mr. Campbell because his was at the top of the list and he's the one who presented the petition. I have not heard anything back from him.
Okay, but so they know that this was the recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The body of the report is always, or the report is always in the body of the letter.
Okay. Yes.
I had the same question as Nick, but I was wondering, do you usually send, someone that has written a letter, do you send them the report? Or is it up to them to look at our minutes? And
for all of our TAC responses, as early as possible prior to the meeting being for the discussion, we send them a letter like this that has the time and date of the discussion, council, and then in italicized font we use the report, the entirety of the report within the middle, and then my email and so forth is at the bottom where they can respond back to me by phone or by email with any questions prior to the meeting.
Okay, great.
Okay. Other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to concur with the report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, motion directing staff to prepare an application for the Iowa DOT Traffic Safety Improvement Funding Association with the 29th Avenue and Indian Creek Mini Roundabout Project.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilman Draper and seconded by, was it Joe or Councilman Spinks? To direct staff to prepare an application for Iowa DOT Traffic Safety Improvement Funding for 29th Avenue Indian Creek Mini Roundabout Project. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. Of course, there's going to be discussion. I think doing a request for funding on this is kind of because of the fact that if we were to decide not to do it, then this has tied up those funds that somebody else could be assigned. Okay? And I think until we see what the nature of the roundabout situation is on that location, that we not take any action, such as what's happening on 35th Street and 29th Avenue.
Okay. Other questions or discussion?
I went out there today and sat there, I'll grant you, in the middle of the day for about 45 minutes. And stop signs work fine. A lot of kids going across, which I thought there would be, going to the playground at the school. And I guess the problem, and I don't know if you can do your application without the study, or if it would have any value without it. But then I began to think as I went home, Indian Creek Road is going to close from Tower Terrace out to Lucor. And so I began to wonder then, well, how are those parents going to come then? Winslow is kind of a conglomeration of turns once it's done. how are those parents going to drop those kids off that create all the traffic in the morning? You know, we have a lot of traffic there in the morning and in the evening. The crossing guards, I've been through there so many times. My great-grandkids go to school at Indian Creek, or did, and the crossing guards do an excellent job. And I've decided in my mind that I don't think it's a good place for a roundabout. First of all, I don't know how we could do it without buying that one house, and here we go again, because his driveway would be 50 feet from that roundabout. And I know that we think it moves traffic better. I've studied them. I've gone to Wisconsin. I've roundabouted myself to death. But I'm not sure that at this point I'm in favor of considering something at Indian Creek Road and 29th until we know what's going to happen and what that traffic flow is going to be. You know, we're doing things now not knowing fully what Tower Terrace is going to do. We probably got we talk about $500,000, Councilman Pazur, we probably got a $15 million bridge that we're going to have to build across Indian Creek out there at some point. So I have a real difficult time, and I guess in my mind I can't be in favor of a roundabout at 29th, a mini roundabout. I think that it would be well placed maybe at 31st if we're going to put another one in there to slow traffic down, because I also travel that a lot. And we do not have equal traffic at Indian Creek and 29th. Our best test for roundabouts, we have 3 triabouts right now, is going to be 7th and 7th. We have, you know, we're really going to learn a lot there. And I'm not opposed to them, but I am opposed to this location because of the school. I don't think a roundabout belongs near a school where you have kids crossing at all hours of the day. You know, school crossings, you'll say from school time hours, well, hell, kids cross all the time at schools. And little kids on little bicycles, and I just think they'd have a devil of a time getting across there if we had continuous traffic. And I think the 4-way stop works.
So you don't think it should be signalized either?
Pardon me?
You don't think it should be signalized either? Just keep it a 4-way stop?
Pardon me, go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering, how much time and cost would be put into the application?
$6,900 and $6,928.
$9 it's going to cost?
No, $6,900. That's the contract. That's for the evaluation and the application. I did bring the other applications, probably 15 pages long. We have to do traffic counts. We have to do traffic evaluations, turning movements. They'll do a layout, which will figure out whether it fits in there or not, so that we don't have to buy property. Those types of things. Mm-hmm. It's a fairly decent application as far as cost and time.
But then, isn't this project funded 100% then?
If we were approved, yes, it would be funded 100%.
Okay.
We would be looking at probably, a $250,000 grant is what we would be looking to acquire. Mm-hmm. So.
But then it has to be according to their standards.
Yes, except that these are traffic safety improvement planning funds, which are, I'll say, much less restrictive than STP funding or regional funding. It goes through a different portion of the DOT. It's a little bit like trail funding, which is a little more lenient, I guess I'll put it that way.
That's why I would like to wait and see what the 29th Avenue, 35th Street, how that works out. And I think this is premature.
Yeah, we mainly brought this up now because the applications are due in August. So,
is there a timeline on those, Dan, as far as when project or completion of project, if we're granted that?
No, we would probably be approved funding in November, December. We could start any time in the next spring and have probably up to 24 months to complete it.
So we would have to do it within, say, first couple of years from receiving the award, correct? I'm just wondering if there was a timeline in there, if, once these roads do all tie out a little differently, if we have second thoughts on that, if there was a timeline on it?
It's pretty lenient in the one way, 29th and 35th, you recall, we waited quite a while between the time we were awarded and the time we started that process. And then we not only did that, but we let it and constructed it in the following year. This was actually let in 15 and constructed in 16. So there is some leniency there. Yeah, it's $7,000. I think it's pretty well spent if we can get through there's no guarantee that we're going to get any money at all, but it also gives us the opportunity to evaluate the intersection for will it ever be okay for that, or whether it should be signalized, or whether it should be, we'll have traffic data that we can use for the signalization if and when we do that. So.
Although it's on 29th Avenue, you are literally 20 blocks apart. There are two different neighborhoods that you're addressing. 35th Street and 29th Avenue is not Indian Creek and 29th Avenue because of the school. You're serving two different populations here. We see it on the street. It is totally different. So as I understand you're considering this, please consider that these are two different neighborhoods and two different populations with different dynamics. I do believe that if it's lit up intersection, I do believe that any crash would be significant because people try to get through that. So if you just would consider
Even
those.
as signalized?
Yes, sir.
As a signalized intersection, you think they would be more dangerous?
Yes, because people are trying to hurry up and get through. I do it myself. I can't lie. But people try to get through certain things when time is restricted. And you have that. You don't have necessarily that with the same four-way stop, but they're different dynamics of intersections. Even though they're on 29th Avenue, they serve different populations.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, because you said something about the school kind of prompted you to do something here. Did you mention the roundabout to them, or?
No, we really, the idea of a mini roundabout has not been around for that long, maybe 2 or 3 years. We had waited until we saw one put in Iowa City and looked at the operational effects of that, and we didn't jump into this right away just because it was something new. At the time we were discussing, we were actually working with the group that's the mothers and the families, and I can't think of what it's called, but my kids are in their 30s, so. We're working with those groups, and they were really pushing us with the principal out there to get this intersection signalized, and we've been pushing back for that very reason to not signalize it. And at this point, we need to do something, and we really saw the mini roundabout as a great option to signalizing it, because we see the downside of signalization, but we also are being pushed to get away from the four-way stop. So there's not a lot of other options. Mm-hmm. Roundabout is a proven safety facility.
Not when you're dealing with kids.
So do you think it's worthwhile to explore that option with the parent group or whoever you say is pushing for you to do something?
I think they would be supportive of this. I have not talked to them at all. It's PTA.
Okay.
The parents group. We have not discussed this option with them. We could do that. Right now, it's kind of a do or die kind of thing. Because if we don't approve this tonight, we would not make this. We would not make this round of applications. But and we can wait a year.
I think it'd be prudent to do that, just to get their thoughts and get.
Sure.
But like I said on Tuesday, what this vote does is just preserve the option. Doesn't mean that we're doing it. It doesn't mean that it just preserves that option of being able to have if in fact something needs to be done right now, one way or another on that intersection. If everybody thinks it's okay to wait a year, then it's fine. Then we don't need to. But if you want to preserve that as an option, as one potential result among several, then it would make sense to me to approve this. But if everybody thinks that it's not an urgent thing, we can wait a year. And regardless, I think we should be, you can preserve the option, but then I think we should explore that with the school and the PTO, make sure that they're on board.
I share the same. My wife is a runner, and she's been up on that one, and there's been many times where she's seen, kids get into that roundabout, just the way it crosses, the way it's so small, and we're just a baby community to these roundabouts. And when people are looking left, looking right, looking left, and all of a sudden a kid pops off of, one of these sidewalks, it's a distraction. I'm torn. I can relate to that. I know it's probably, we got to do something, but I'm concerned about it as well.
So if we hold off on doing anything, you said August or when applications are due, so could you apply in September for next year? Or do you have to wait?
We would apply next August. They take applications 1 month a year.
So they just take it at one, okay. I
Annually,
understand.
yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. So it's not a continuous take
But-
applications and then decide in August. Got it.
No, they apply all their funds and award all their funds at one time.
Okay, so here's my question. How do you, is this a necessary step to finding out? Because you said we don't know if it'll work at that intersection, right? We don't know. Is this the necessary step to determine if it will work? Or is there something else you would have to do?
Part of the scope of services within the application preparation is that configuration check. We're mainly we're not looking on whether it will work as a traffic device. We're looking at it as whether it will fit into the intersection or not.
No.
So that evaluation is really just an on-the-ground kind of thing. This is a skew intersection. It's not a great intersection for anything, let alone a roundabout or signalization or whatever. We want to look at that and see if it's going to fit in there, whether it's when you put a roundabout in a skew, that's not the optimum situation, but we want to make sure that it's going to work there. So part of that contract, let's say maybe 3,000 of it, is that evaluation. We can just do that evaluation if you want in preparation of an application next year. I'm open to whatever.
At some point, you're going to have to do that, right? It's going to be to determine if this is viable or not.
Staff recommendation is going to continue to be putting a mini roundabout here or a full roundabout. Full roundabout's going to become fairly expensive fairly quickly. So we think is a good viable option at this time, and that's why we would continue to recommend that.
Is that the only reason why you would do a mini roundabout rather than a full roundabout, just out of curiosity, because cost?
Yes.
Because people do ask, why didn't we do a full roundabout at 35th? And it's cost related.
Well, I say that. Mini roundabout in a lower volume situation works as well or better than a large one, only in that sense. But dollars are the biggest part of it, yes.
Other discussion?
Yeah.
Sir?
The money that we get from that would not be able to buy, we couldn't buy the homes if we needed to, would it? We couldn't use that to purchase the home.
If the application included acquisitions, yes, we could.
But that one that's on the southeast side of that intersection, we thought those other two houses were expensive. That one is going to cost a lot of money to purchase, and there's no way that they would ever get out of their driveway if there's a mini roundabout there. Also, I'm pushing, like I said on Tuesday, pushing for 31st Street, but that one I believe would also require purchasing the house on the corner, the southeast corner of that, because his driveway is right there as well.
Well, I don't want to argue with you, Joe, but signalization on those approaching lanes are worse for driveways than a roundabout could ever think of being. This is actually the 29th, 35th roundabout placed at 31st and 29th. We would be required to buy property at each four corners, even to construct the mini roundabout.
But can you see where his driveway is down?
I don't know if I went that far. Probably not, but there's a driveway here. This is 31st.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'd have to buy that house right there.
This guy would have, he would have some visibility problems, but he would have gaps where in the signalization process he would not.
Yeah. But
So you wouldn't have to buy it.
But
You wouldn't have to buy that house, though.
In my opinion, no.
But like when I left coming to the council meeting tonight, on that south lane, they were backed up to the top of the hill. There was 8 cars there. There was 4 cars on the other side. And when I went over the hill and disappeared, none of them had gone across 31st Street.
Yeah, at certain times of the day, this intersection is bad. We have several.
Because all the traffic, there was traffic both ways on 29th. And so this is where we need to be looking, not down there where there's an unknown. This is a known in my mind.
And we can either do this as an option, we can also apply it for both projects.
Can we get 2 for 1?
Probably not, but we would probably get a reduced rate. There's no restriction to how many projects we would apply for.
Yeah.
So remind me, was it on Albernet, I'm sorry, on Indian Creek and 29th? Did you say that you didn't want to do anything, but you're being asked to do something, or do you think that something needs to be done at that intersection? I know you don't want to signalize it because you think that'd be more dangerous, but I mean,
the four-way stop right now is somewhere between on a safety rating is somewhere between a roundabout and a signalized intersection. So you can stay with the four-way stop, and we can stay that forever. The congestion will go up exponentially after a couple of years, but it will continue to operate. We will have rear ends, we'll end up with some accidents, but a four-way stop works, it just doesn't work efficiently. A roundabout works and is efficient. You have a lot, in four-way stop, you have a lot of fuel, a large carbon footprint from a four-way stop. A roundabout does not provide that, does not require that. That's why we support them so much. It continues to move people. It continues to, especially in off hours. Right now, when you pull up to 29th and 35th at 2 o'clock in the morning, you should stop. You may sit there for a second or two. With a roundabout, you just keep right on going.
The intersection at Indian Creek and 29th Avenue, religiously in the morning, we have an officer sitting up there in the turning lane because people will use the turning lane to pass other people, or they use the shoulder. And so that has been occurring for like at least the last school year, maybe the last 2 school years, that we dedicate a human resource up there until we have to pull them away for another call for service. That is an intersection that needs attention, whatever y'all decide, but it is an intersection that needs attention due to the huge volume of traffic in the morning. We don't see it as significant at night because people aren't in a hurry to get home as much as they are to hit that 8 o'clock or whatever, the 8:10 bell. So we have if you all drive by and once school starts again, you'll notice an officer sitting up there often in the middle of the road, the turning lane.
But we could, though, once Winslow is open, take some barricades out and close that section of Indian Creek that's going to disappear and see how much traffic you have at 29th. It's going to be exceedingly difficult to get to where you're talking about.
Indian Creek will go north to Winslow Road, which will go into the new alignment of Winslow Road for the unforeseen future until the bridge is built. Once the bridge is built, Indian Creek will go up and tee into Tower Terrace. There'll be a full intersection there. So that traffic that is crossing Tower Terrace for whatever reason and wants to go south into the uptown will either use 10th Street or Indian Creek. I think those volumes going south on Indian Creek will remain high. I don't think they will stay as high maybe as they are now, but they will remain high because people coming even from the area east of Indian Creek, which is now Morris's property, I think that's called. Those people will come down across Tower Terrace to Lennon or one of those areas. They'll come down Tower Terrace and come down that north end of Winslow and down Indian Creek Road and end up in this intersection. People will continue to use this intersection for the next.
Now,
forever.
Winslow, what's the intersection of Winslow and Tower Terrace? Because people are gonna have to turn to the left there to get to Indian Creek.
I'm going to sketch here. Currently, Indian Creek comes up and comes up to Winslow Road. Eventually, Tower Terrace. Well, you got something. Thank you, Tom. My right side up, wrong side up. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
There.
I'm not a planner, so I didn't know how to do it.
But you want to be.
Yeah, every day of my life. So what we're talking about is this section and this section. This section will also go away. This is basically a trail now because we have internal roads in here, or will have. This intersection here will still be very busy because all this traffic up in here is expected to come down. If they're not going to east of town, they'll come down and either come down through here or go on across and come down 10th Street. So all of this traffic from Hunter's Ridge will either funnel down through this way or funnel down through this way. So that intersection, that skew intersection, is still going to be very busy.
They're gonna be huge.
So we feel that those volumes will operate better in some type of roundabout configuration. And once again, it's in the same thing that we looked at 29th and 35th. Someday that may be a full-sized roundabout, but we felt that a cost-effective, efficient way to address that traffic now was a mini roundabout.
Yeah.
That is where the myth of everybody's asking, why was this built as a temporary one? So that must have been exactly what I'm hearing a lot of flack back saying, we understand this is just a temporary.
Well, it's temporary for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And it may be permanent if we don't get growth in that part of town. If the volumes do not increase, if something else happens that keeps that north-south traffic from increasing, it can stay there for 40 years.
The $1 million question is the traffic that we got going through there is what is within destination of a half mile from these intersections and what's just commuting through. You know, what's cutting around, what's cutting down. You know, cars that are taking 31st out now and cutting back away so they can get away from the roundabout. And everybody now is trying to reroute their quickest way back over to First Avenue. Alburnett Road's going to change that, you know, when that extension gets done. So I can so relate to these studies of understanding, you know, what is community, what is the neighborhood traffic versus what is just pass-through traffic that's clogging up these intersections for us, you know, 35th, 31st, and then our Indian Creek. Because just like he said, you know, and that's been 5 or 6 years. My son, I remember driving down there, you know, and you get people that are in a hurry. They have no affiliation with the school, and they want to get into that turning lane so they can make a left so they can go back south on Indian Creek Road. They're just trying to get away from it and as quickly as possible. And it's just major congestion. So again, it's that older clientele, children clientele, people passing through, people using it just as a route, and those that are truly, you know, living within a few blocks of these intersections. So it's not a difficult deal. Thank you for all your help on that.
We're looking at efficient, cost-effective, looking for funds. So that's all we're here tonight.
Can you go back to your 31st Street
Well, can we,
picture?
I mean, this discussion is about Indian Creek Road, though, isn't it?
I know, but yeah.
I mean, that,
Isn't that driveway the same as the house that we took out on the east side of, southeast side, isn't that intersection?
I'm gonna say this for probably the 100th, if not 1,000th time. None of those houses were bought because of the current project. The two owners there wanted out. We looked at a future need and agreed on a purchase price to allow those to be bought and demolished so that someday, when they're worth 3 times what they're now, we don't have to buy them. The houses had nothing to do with this project. In fact, we'd already moved ahead on the project. The council had even seen the project at the time those people came in, those individuals came in and asked to be bought out. Sure, they probably would have had they would have had some difficulty with their driveways. If we'd have went to a 4-way stop there, if we went to a signalized intersection there, it'd been a whole lot worse. So any way you looked at it, their convenience level at those locations were going to be bad. They were bad now. So sorry about that, but I hear that over and over and over again.
Yep, thanks for clarifying that, because I'm asked that, and that's my answer, but it's good to hear you say it again.
But anyway, this is where it ought to be, not at Indian Creek.
What does staff think about this intersection?
We think it's a very viable candidate. It's not our top candidate.
So if we're doing a study, for Indian Creek and 29th at the same time, can they study that one?
Yeah, it would be an additional cost to the contract. I could get an estimate or something, but we have to do the statistical analysis of this is about 2/3 of the other intersection. We still have to do the same thing. You have to look at the modeling, you have to look at the traffic, you have to look at pedestrian use, you have to look at all that stuff. I mean, that's what the money's for.
That's why I asked if we get 2 for 1.
Right.
3 for 1 price.
Okay.
I mean, you could set a contract for application tonight not to exceed $5,000, and if we can make that work, we would go ahead with it. If not, we would not do it. I mean, if that's the direction you want to go, we can do a 2 for 1.
What would you all think of doing that, to amend this to include that one?
No, what I object to is just this casual $7,000 here, $5,000 there, all this chump change, and taxpayers are not happy. That's all I'll say.
I will say that I've, since Tuesday, brought up Indian Creek, the 29th roundabout, to several people, and everyone that I brought it up to said, "Oh, that's a good idea." So.
Well, it's not their money. It is
They're
their money.
Marion residents, yes.
But they don't realize.
I think when you see the census numbers later, you'll see some happy people out there. They're moving here.
I think the school changes everything at that location, in my opinion. Kids, us old guys, I go around 29th, 35th, probably 5 times a day, and I have better luck in the Corvette than I do the car, but I haven't had a problem there. I think the other thing are bicyclists. You got Tom on his bicycle and has full right of roadway going around the roundabouts, I think are a problem. But I think, in my mind, and I'm sorry, but I'm not opposed to them. I am opposed to them by a school. That's me.
Somebody said you got into one and couldn't get out of it, didn't
you? Okay, any other discussion?
That was in Germany. Germany, I couldn't get out.
I would say, Paul, I'd be in favor of doing both of them. Looking at both of them. Joe, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, who are you talking to?
Well, what does that mean, doing both of them?
A study on both intersections.
So he's saying to limit the second one to 5,000?
And limit
both?
You could set, well, the 6928 is pretty set. I mean, that's what the only reason I'm setting another number is because I don't know what that number would be. If you have a comfort level of a amount, you could do a not to exceed, and if we cannot make that happen, we would not proceed with the application.
So if we made it 10,000 for both?
I don't think that would do it.
You don't think that would do it?
But if you were to change the next resolution, you're putting engineering to a ton of work on this resolution without funding, without the engineering on it. And that's something we need to think about. You need to look at the next one when we're talking about spending the money. They're preparing the application, which Dan indicates is not much use without the engineering study.
So really,
yeah, the application is all about the engineering. Sorry.
6 and 7 would have to go together, correct?
Pardon?
I mean, 6 and 7 would have to go together, because if we don't approve 7, we don't have an application.
Right. That's correct.
Well, I had a meeting with probably 10 people this noon, and the general consensus was, what's the big hurry to get all this stuff done right now? And it's the fact that people are not being allowed to assimilate the changes that are going on, and I think they're not happy about that.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Okay, ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion directing staff to prepare an application for Iowa DOT Traffic Safety Improvement Funding associated with 29th Avenue Indian Creek Mini Roundabout Project, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
So, can we,
Would you like a roll call on that?
please?
Ms. Pazor?
No.
Ms. Etzel?
Yes?
Mr. Spinks?
No.
Mayor Abu-Osley?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Sternad?
No?
Mr. Draper?
No.
We have 4 no's,
No's,
so it's
yeah,
defeated.
failed.
Okay? But I would still would suggest, Dan, that we talked with the school and talk with the PTO that wants you to do something about the intersection, to have them be part of the solution. I just think it makes sense, so.
Well, do you want to go on with that, or do you want to move to remove this
So we don't need
motion
to,
to remove
Well, you can still
number
do
7?
We can just move on past that.
we don't need to even take it up.
If 7 gets approved, though, then they could do the study, and then maybe next year make the request to the DOT.
I'm concerned with doing the study because I think, or at least in my opinion, the reason for the no is I want to get a little bit more time here to see where we're at. So to do the study today, when in a year from now it's going to be completely different, I'm concerned about the study rapidly becoming out of date.
But I don't know if a year from now it'll be different, because that bridge is really the Tower Terrace Bridge is what's going to determine the traffic, I think.
Correct, but look at the rest of our city over the last year, though. There's been a lot of changes. I mean, we just approved $250,000 to study this Alburnett Road. I mean, we got a lot of consulting going on, and a lot of roads are going to be changing here. So, again, that's just my opinion. This is a torn topic, and we could talk all night about it, but everybody's got, we want to do what's right. I think we all want to move forward with it, and we just got a little bit different opinions on how to get to that point.
And also, in a year's time, you don't know that $7,000 is going to be the cost of the study.
Could be 10.
Mm.
10,000
Okay,
in
so-
a year.
Wow. So I would
Well, let's
move
just
to
vote on it.
remove item number 7 from the agenda.
We don't have to consider it, do we?
So that motion dies for lack of a second.
Well, I do have to deal with it somehow.
Vote it down and it takes care of it.
Pardon?
Vote it down and it takes care of it.
We either just don't do anything with it, or we bring it up and vote on it. Pardon? Well, someone's got to make the motion if we're going to take it up.
Let me help. I would move that we table Resolution 25-416 to a later date.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table resolution 25416 to a later date. So we're tabling it to an indefinite time, right? That would be the motion.
Well, no, later date. According to Robert's Rules of Order, if it's indefinite, it goes away. I believe.
No, it's not to a particular time. It's just we're tabling it until it's brought back up, until it's needed to be brought back up. So anyway, I think we're on the same page, regardless of what you call it.
Put a vote on it, though.
Any discussion on tabling it?
When do you think you could get with the school and talk to them?
Pretty much any way we look at it, we're looking at the next cycle, which is totally fine with me.
So if we tabled it till August, that would give you a definitive time to talk with the school?
Well, you got till
We have till next
I would
August.
say July of 2017.
Yeah, we need 30 to whatever days we have, 60 days to prepare the application, so I'm not sure that.
May.
from the consultant, it really felt like tonight was a do or die kind of situation, so, for this cycle.
Yeah, so it's not going to be this year.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion to table signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, so the motion passes. It's tabled.
This is resolution number 25417, setting a public hearing for July 7th, 2016 regarding First United Methodist Church of Marion's First Edition preliminary site development plan and final site plan development plan located north of REC Drive, west of Highway 13, and south of 35th Avenue, First United Methodist Church.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25417, setting the public hearing regarding the First United Methodist Church of Marion First Edition preliminary site development plan and final site development plan. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25418, approving the Lynn County Business Park final site development plan for a property located north of REC Drive and west of Highway 13, part of the Lynn County Business Park addition of Berger Homes application.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25418, approving Lynn County Business Park final site development plan for the property located north of REC Drive and west of Highway 13. Discussion.
So I'm looking at the picture here. What are those things, Tom? What is it that
They're kind of like contractor condos.
they're
So it's got an overhead door and office space in the front. It's on a private drive. Does that answer, Joe, or do you have more questions on that?
They build buildings for other companies to lease, to have their business there.
So, okay, so these are leased.
Yeah, I don't think they sell them, I think they lease them.
Could be a plumber or
Yeah,
something
like
that.
plumbing business could be in
Office
there.
space with a warehouse.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest.
This is kind of,
The original site development plan was approved several years ago. It's probably not the greatest copy either, but
Is this the one where it's 4 different buildings and there's 48 potential apartments in it?
no.
no apartments. No, this is all industrial. So REC Drive, when you go north on north off REC Drive, there's a private drive and there's buildings, and then they have 4 or 5. I'm not sure the total number of parking in the front, and there's usually one overhead door. So these are private drives. So this isn't a public street, and there's usually an overhead door and a front door. So it's for. Here's the elevations. So you'd be able to go in the front door, and then you have. Let's say you're a plumber or a painter, you can park your larger trucks in the overhead door. You have storage in the back, and then you got a front door. That's an office area. So they're for the small contractor, sign company, artist type situation. So the original preliminary site development plan outlined a loop street in the area, and these were all along the loop street. So that's kind of how it develops out. Because of the zoning, it's a preliminary site development plan. Each phase will be the final site development plan. So every time we do this, we'll bring it back in. I'll try to bring the larger one maybe next time to kind of help you visualize it. But
So what is this zoned as?
it's planned development.
Planned development.
Yeah, it's just north of REC off Highway 13 by
What can go into planned development then?
What's that?
What can go
It's
in?
industrial.
Industrial.
Yep. It's an industrial planned development site.
Where's the property that the Council of Churches sold to, or they wanted to sell, and it was going to be 4 buildings at the potential of 48 apartment? I read that in the.
That's the next.
Next item.
That's our next item.
No, that's not it.
That is a receive and file, and that's going to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the units that are basically on Boyson Road just before Drugtown, the multicolored. They're very nicely done.
Okay.
That's what's being proposed on that other project, but yeah.
So it's on the other side of 13.
Yes.
Down by.
Yep. And that'll come to you guys
by the trailer court.
First week in August.
Go back to the other picture
North
there, Tom.
I'm sorry?
Go back to your your first picture. No, where's the one showing the map? Do you have that one? No, you must not have that.
Which showing the
aerial photo.
The aerial photo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So is the church just north of this?
Yes.
So this is going to be in their front yard.
Yeah. Yep. They were here first. The church chose to locate there.
Right.
This plan was approved prior to the church purchase.
So they know that they'll have this sitting in their front yard.
Yep. Actually, Mr. Berger sold the ground to them.
Okay.
And they're not going to hope for divine intervention on this, that Rory moved it?
Okay, other questions?
Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Yep, no problem.
All those in favor of resolution number 25418 signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve an ordinance number 1607, approving the rezoning from C3 general commercial to R6 high-density multifamily for property located west of Highway 13 and south of 29th Avenue. Second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-07, approving the rezoning from C3 to R6 for property located west of Highway 13 and south of 29th Avenue. This is the second consideration.
Now, this is the property, wasn't it, where the 2 people came and spoke about having
Apartments.
not going entirely apartments, that they wanted the commercial on the first floor? Whew, first floor.
Any discussion?
Been any other feedback about it? No.
No, it's been quiet.
Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 16-07 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
I abstain.
Okay, so we have 1 abstention and
2 no.
3 noes.
But who?
can we?
No.
Please.
Yeah.
Ms. Setzel?
Yes.
Mr. Spinks?
Yes.
Mayor Abou-Osley?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Sternan?
No?
Mr. Draper?
Abstain.
Ms. Pazur?
No.
Okay, the motion passes.
Yeah, sorry, I thought Joe said no.
Ready?
Thank you. Your Honor, I approve or make a motion for resolution number 25419, approving request for deferral of installation of sidewalk for lot number 2, Marion Enterprise Center, 4th edition, for property associated with electric specialty manufacturing, Holland Hall Engineering.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25419, approving the request for deferral of installation of sidewalk for Lot 2, Marion Enterprise Center, 4th edition, electric specialty manufacturing. Discussion?
I really don't remember this. I didn't put any notes down. Can't remember. Why did they want to defer?
This is a property that's, a map will explain it here if I can find it quickly, but it's out in the MEC, and they are the southernmost business, and the road goes straight south, and it would tee into the Lindale Trail eventually, but between that area And the business is also the area that's been talked about for the airport runway. So until there's really a knowledge base on what's going to happen there, it doesn't make any sense to extend that beyond the driveway. So they are putting it down to a driveway, which makes sense. It's just the further south extension of that. So that's why we're supportive of it. Oh, do you see it? You see the drawing? Okay, perfect. Yep.
So along Partners and then down that side street to their driveway, it's.
Correct.
Yeah,
They'll
okay.
keep that. Yep. Yeah. Any other questions? I have the map now.
Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 25419 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding the proposed sale of a portion of public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street to Anderson Automotive. The public hearing is now open. Do we have a brief reminder or presentation about what this is? Just for the sake of people here.
I'll try.
Thank you.
The sale is part of used to be the fiber right site that the city has redeveloped and divided. We have come to an agreement with Anderson Automotive, which is over west of Aldi's. I'm not sure what that street name is. But we have made that agreement to sell those properties to him, and he's already started grading out there already. So.
What? But what's one lot, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the sale of this property? Seeing none, is there anybody here to speak against it? Okay. There are none. The public hearing is now closed.
Yes, Your Honor, resolution number 25420, approving the sale of a portion of the public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street, Anderson Automotive.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25420, approving the sale of a portion of public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street, Anderson Automotive. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. We have another public hearing at this time regarding the proposed sale of a portion of public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street to KTRO LLC. The public hearing is open.
This is a lot just west of the last one you were looking at. It's east of the current KTRO facility, which is storage units. I think there's discussion on whether it's going to be more storage units or whether it's going to be contractor condos at this point, but they are purchasing that lot.
So this is 44th. This is 3rd Avenue. The Anderson lot is here on the corner. The KTROS, or whatever it's called.
No S, just KTRO.
Is here on this corner. So this is the outline of the former fiber right site. There's a larger lot up here with some floodplain or with some wetland issues, and then there's another lot here available. So the owner of this lot is buying this from the city. This is still available, this is still available, and this is Anderson, just so council's aware.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this project, of this sale?
Thanks, Tom.
Is there anyone here to speak against the sale? Okay, seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution 25,421, approving the sale of a portion of public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street. And this is KRTO LLC.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded To approve resolution number 25421, approving the sale of a portion of public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street to KTRO LLC. Discussion?
I was absolutely against putting storage garages on industrial property, but you assured me that this could possibly be like a small business and have a small office in this area. Is that correct?
Who's you? You said you. Okay, staff did. Thank you. Just clarifying who the you is.
Yes.
I think it was Paul. I guess I have not reviewed the site plan for final conversation, but as I understand it, that was part of the discussion. So it was a combination of both.
That's the only reason why I would go on with it now, is that it's not going to be just purely storage space, that there is the possibility of being used for a small business type thing too.
One of the preliminary discussions was contractor condos, which would be small business opportunities. We're not sure at this point in time if that is exactly what it's going to be for. So I would not vote based on that information.
Oh, wow.
Okay, other discussion?
Maybe I'm
Joe?
going to say no.
Tom, when we were originally talking about this, there was some alignment issues with these properties. Did that all get worked out, and we don't have anything that we're going to have to redo after this, do we?
The plats were taken care of, yeah. There was some questions originally with how the plat was being designed, and I think that's come together. Now, I mean, that north lot isn't the greatest developable piece of ground because of the wetland issues, but that is what it is. We've got to work around that.
But you got all that straightened out.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay. Other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25421 signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, this is resolution number 25421, approving a purchase agreement regarding land purchase from GLD Properties site, former Prince Agra location.
Second?
It's actually resolution 25422.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say the wrong one?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25422, approving a purchase agreement regarding land purchase from GLD Properties, the former Prince Agra location.
Now, this is the city that's purchasing this?
Just the front. You're going to trade the
Triangle
back.
wedge.
I'm sorry?
I believe it's that triangle wedge that.
We apologize, staff apologizes for the lateness of this, but we're trying to get easements from the individual from GLD to construct the roundabout on that east end. We need some right-of-way from that individual. These two agreements are basically that first step to move towards the buying and selling of property in this area between 6th and 7th east of the east roundabout, so that we can construct this project. I don't know if this will show up or not very well.
So this has to do with the east roundabout?
Yes. So the old Prince Agra site, which is in this area here, we are basically looking at a sliver right in this area on the front of this property that would give us the right-of-way to bring this down and into the roundabout that will be built right here. That sliver basically looks like this. So we have gotten an appraisal on this sliver and the other piece. So we're buying this piece and we're selling them the piece behind, which is the right-of-way, the railroad right-of-way. Those have both been appraised, their market value. We've agreed, the owner has agreed that we would make that trade basically with some stipulations that are in those agreements that you have on your desk.
So basically you're just brokering this?
Yeah, well, brokering's not always good, but yes. So anyhow, this is the current site. That sliver that you saw is right in here. So this is their property. We're going to sell them this property, which is the old railroad right-of-way. We will retain a 30-foot easement across here where the trail will go across. This will allow this piece to become much more developable. In the end, the city win-win kind of situation because this whole site gets developed and that tax base that comes with it. So, questions on that?
Like parcel A should be worth more for all the stuff that's in the soil.
Yeah, the mineral rights are much more than the. We have covered all the stipulations for the cap that exists in that location and all the environmental issues. This really is just the first step. I mean, this is these agreements, if you read them towards the end, stipulate that a final agreement, a final approval by council is required before we move forward. So this is really just enough to get us so that we can get that construction easement and move forward with the project. Questions?
Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 25422 signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve resolution 25423, approving a conditional sales agreement regarding land adjacent to GLD property site, the former Prince Ag location.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25423, approving a conditional sales agreement regarding land adjacent to GLD properties site. Discussion? None? All those in favor of resolution number 25423, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes. Brent?
Your Honor, I make a motion to receive and file funding recommendations for the fiscal year 16-17 Hotel Motel Grant Program Review Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive and file funding recommendations for the fiscal year 16-17 Hotel Motel Grant Program Review Committee. Discussion?
Amanda, could you put that up on the screen? I just want to make sure I'm not abstaining from any of that.
Well, this is receive and file.
Yeah, well,
And then the next
it's
one
going to
is
be the same.
Yeah.
Probably in
Did you want to fund those rats?
there. No, I just want to make sure that I'm not in conflict of interest with anybody on that list, so I can vote on it.
Can we go ahead and vote on the motion while
Sure,
she's
I'm sorry,
doing
Mayor.
it? Unless there's other discussion. Unless you think you'd want to abstain on receive and file.
Well, I'd have to if there was some reason.
On receiving and file?
Yeah.
Oh, okay then.
Cold in here.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to receive and file the recommendations for Hotel Motel Grant Program Review Committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
I do abstain on that, Mayor.
We have one abstention. The motion passes. Mr. Cernat?
Yes, Your Honor. Make a motion to approve resolution number 25424, approving the Hotel Motel Grant Program funding allocations for fiscal year 2016 through 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25424, approving the Hotel Motel Grant Program funding allocations for fiscal year 16-17.
We do have one citizen that wants to comment.
Okay. Sir?
Thank you. I'm Jay Casina. I live at 2745 First Avenue here in Marion. I'm Vice President of the Marion Historical Society, also doing business as the Heritage Center, Marion Heritage Center.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for allowing me about 3 minutes for a friendly comment on the hotel motel revenue allocation on behalf of the Heritage Center. I'm not here to plead for any change in the amount of your grant from that which is recommended, and I do want to thank you, though, for what I understand as about a 25% increase over last year's allocation, especially because last year's allocation was about 50% less than the year before. My purpose today is simply to elaborate just a bit beyond the justification that our Executive Director, Lynette Brenzel, made in her grant application. And it's my hope that you'll tuck this idea away in the back of your mind for future considerations. And that's this. We agree very strongly with the conclusion of Roger Brooks's branding of Marion as the best place in Iowa to raise a family. We understand the many factors that went into that assessment. Good neighborhoods and schools, entertainment and recreational opportunities, safety, water quality, responsive government, just to mention a few. And yet we believe that there is an underlying element in the fabric of Marion that only our organization contributes, the museum contributes. And that element is the pride of our heritage on display and through the programs that we provide at our Heritage Center. I expressly emphasize the word "our" here as it is reflected in our slogan for our membership promotion, "It's yours," quote, "it's yours." It's your Heritage Center. It's your heritage. We think our museum is much more than just an attraction. What we offer is tangible evidence of the solid foundation upon which the community was built. Marion's the best place to raise a family in Iowa because of those who came before us, even way back to our namesake, Francis Marion. So it's for that reason that we hope you'll consider that all of the hotel-motel tax investments that you make are building upon the foundation that the heritage that we're working so hard to preserve exists. Thanks. And thanks for your support.
Thank you. Thanks for all the work that you all do. Any discussion on the resolution 25424 approving the grant application, the grant funding recommendations? None? All those in favor of resolution number 25424, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Are you abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
And I'm also abstaining, so we have 2 abstentions. And the motion passes. Councilman Draper?
Yes, Your Honor. Resolution number 25,425, approving retainer agreements with the city attorney and the assistant city attorney for a period of July 1, 2016 through June 30, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 25425, approving retainer agreements with the city attorney and assistant city attorneys for the period July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to receive and file the 2016 partial special census results from the U.S. Census Bureau.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to receive and file the 2016 partial special census results from U.S. Census Bureau. I think we have a presentation.
Yes, so I included a memo that should be in front of each of you with the results from the U.S. Census Bureau attached. I put on the screen here the areas in orange is where the partial special census was conducted, areas that have experienced high development and growth since 2010. Overall, we are seeing an increase of 2,860 to our population, and that represents 1,083 additional households. So our new certified count, once the state certifies it, will be 38,023, and the new household count will be 16,296. So using these figures against local option sales tax and road use tax calculations, we anticipate, because of the special census, we'll be bringing in over 2.6 million before the 2020 census is certified. We also, if you recall, back in late 2015, participated in the GUPC program, which basically allowed us to take the annexed areas, the population count of 2010, and add it to our population. It was also a special census program. That increased our population and will result in an additional 450,000 before 2020 in anticipated revenue. Combined, that's just under 3.1 million.
In additional funding that we would not have realized had we not done.
Yeah, but was it not for the special census and then the GUPC program?
Right, so.
It's a job well done.
I think the special census was well worth it.
Oh, absolutely. We haven't received the final tabulated costs yet from the Census Bureau, but we don't anticipate them exceeding $140,000. So I put the return on investment on the memo, and that's $22 for every $1 invested back to Marion.
Thank you for all your work on that, Amanda. And so our official population is now over 38,000.
38,023.
Okay.
See, what this proves is Ward 2 is the place to be.
I don't know.
That was done before the roundabout went in, right?
Everyone that's anyone's in Ward 2.
Thank you, Amanda. Any discussion on this or questions for Amanda?
Thank you, Amanda.
I think that's a good result. Again, money well spent on the special census. And it shows how quickly our city's growing. Okay. All those in favor of the motion to receive and file the partial special census results signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Thank you. Passes.
Your Honor, this is resolution number 25426, certifying the results of the 2016 partial special census.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25426, certifying the results of the 2016 partial special census. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve these mayoral appointments for Lee Rodenberg for Leah, sorry, for the Airport Advisory Commission, or Committee, and then Rodney Brummel,
I think.
okay, for the Tree Board, term expiring 1/1/2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the mayoral appointments of Leah Rodenberg to the Airport Advisory Committee and Rodney Brummel to the Tree Board. I will just add that Rodney's appointment came with the recommendation of the Parks Board who interviewed him. I'm sorry, the Tree Board who interviewed him, and with Mike's recommendation. Leah's appointment came after we had a resignation from one of the committee members, and honoring the request, the very appropriate observation of Councilwoman Etzel that we didn't have any women on the board or on the advisory committee. We made a point of asking for a woman to be on the committee, and she agreed. She applied, and so I'm proposing her for appointment, and she'll do a good job.
I think she should have held out for Amelia Earhart.
Okay. All those in favor of the appointments, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. And the appointments are approved. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. Saturday morning at the library at 9:30, from 9:30 to 11:30, it'll be Randy and me. So if you have any comments, criticisms, compliments, be sure to stop by. In the morning, when the newspaper comes, the first thing I always do is that puzzle of Tom Underwood's, where all the different letters are jumbled and you have to sort out and come up with. And there was a really good saying last week, and it was, think wrongly if you must, but in all cases, think for yourself. And I think that's very appropriate for this group. And I do have one other thing, and maybe this is a wrong-headed way to go, but I wish the police officer was sitting up front and looking out, because where he is right now, and where most of them are, a sitting duck for anybody that would be standing at that door and decide to take, and that's the first person they're going to take out. So I just, I've been thinking about this for a long time.
Okay, thank you.
Like, I had to think tonight, Mary Lou, that you and I voted the same way on an issue.
I know.
And I thought about that the temple curtain tore just a little bit when that occurred.
Oh.
But I wanted to say, too, for all the departments that have been involved in the activities this summer, the parks and the chamber and all that, this has been a fantastic summer to get out into Marion and enjoy things. And the weather's been pretty good for almost everything that's happened, and there hasn't been big issues. I've heard compliments of both the police and fire department up at the park, and so it's been a great summer. The things you've had out at Lau Park were just great. I mean, I wanted to go see the Star Wars movie on the big screen, but my wife said, we got the DVD, so I didn't she wouldn't let me go. But anyway, you guys have planned some really neat stuff this summer, and so if you're ever, if you're lacking for something to do, it's not because it isn't out there to do. Yes, Mike.
If I could, I just wanted to pitch the next event out at Lau Park at the amphitheater. July 16th, we'll be doing dueling pianos out there that night. That's going to be a great event, so I hope everybody can make it. Again, these are free events for the community.
Right. Thank you all for all that you've done to make that happen.
Joe, the next movie will be The Good Dinosaur, if you want to go see that one.
I don't have that one.
No, there you go.
That's all I got. Okay, Randy?
Yes, I just want to let everybody know, thank you. This marks my first 6 months sitting up here in the council, so it's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to continuing to work up here, so hopefully doing a very good job. Mr. Kisina, I wanted to address your presentation. Thank you very much. As being a member of the Committee for the Hotel Motel Tax, it was a challenge for us this year to take a look at the individuals looking for obviously participation in this revenue that we have. We did struggle with all of these individuals as businesses, as functions, taking a look at this to see where we could put these dollars to best use. And you are exactly right, sir. We are very fortunate to have our heritage. Some communities lose sight of that in scope of the future and where things are leading them. One of the things that keeps us grounded, and I think all good leaders, whether that be individuals, businesses, or communities, is not to forget where you came from. And so I just wanted to thank you again for your presentation this evening, and we're going to continue to work harder to increase that capital for us so that we can possibly spread that wealth a little bit further again next year. So thank you for that. With that, I am done. Thank you.
Didn't have his white coat on tonight as he did
for the Flat Earth Society on Tuesday, so those things happen. No, I have a couple of things. Dan, you are in charge. Does engineering need anything, a car, or, I mean, you're... I'm always in charge. Or you got, you know... Well, you're really in charge now, though. I'd like to remind fly-in breakfast Sunday morning at the airport is always a great occasion, and pancake, sausage, airplanes. We're also going to have some muscle cars and cars out there to look at this year. And I'm in a little bit of a hurry because I got a half a bottle of wine left. Yesterday was my 59th wedding anniversary, so
Happy anniversary.
she's a really lucky girl, I keep telling her. Chief, I'm sure that you're going to want, or Mayor, you're going to want to mention the Chief's party, key to the city and things like that. If you don't, we had a wonderful party for our retiring chief, ran very efficiently, and I was very impressed when you think that we had plaques being presented to our chief from 3 counties, the state of Iowa, the FBI, 4 cities, including the Cedar Rapids former chief of police who flew here especially for the party from Florida, where he is now chief, Civil Service Commission, and our mayor presenting the key to the city. I thought it was very impressive. It spoke well for his tenure as a police officer and chief of police in our community, and it was a really nice occasion. So that's all I have, Mayor.
It was a wonderful event, and it was well planned out. You did a great job organizing that, and I think it was a very fitting tribute to him and honoring him. I never expected to see him cry like that, but he was very moved, and it was very impressive to see the respect that he has in all the people who came to honor him.
Yeah, it was a big occasion. Speaks well for our police department.
So my comments are, again, it's obvious from our census results, the city's growing and growing quickly. It's not something that, it's something that's happening, and that the city staff, is trying to figure out how to deal with the growth, how to manage it, how to plan out into the future. And I think that's obvious in some of the discussion we've had tonight and a lot of the discussion we've had lately. And I appreciate everybody's being able to have respectful discussions and to agree to disagree respectfully on things. These are not easy issues. These are, issues dealing with our growth and how do you adjust to the growth. And I think the entire community is dealing with that. And we see that, we hear it, we see it, we sense it. There's a lot of, uneasiness, I think, with trying to adjust to it and deal with it. And people are trying to adjust to it as best as they can. The city's trying as best as it can to not allow the growth to be a negative impact on quality of life. And so with that come these decisions of, what do you do about these intersections where the traffic's increasing and you have safety issues to deal with and all these issues. So we're going to continue having these types of discussions. These issues are going to continue to come up, and I appreciate our ability to have these discussions in a respectful way, and I think it proves also that we are a council of independent thinkers. Councilwoman Pazur, I think, because you can see how everybody feels about things, and everybody I think is trying to be very thoughtful about and put the time into coming up with educated positions on things, and I appreciate that. And positives that I'm looking at in this Metco and Chamber newsletter, you see lots of positives happening around us, and there's things we should celebrate. We are part of a growing city. It's much better than the opposite. Even with with the issues and the challenges that we have, those are issues that many cities would love to be dealing with. And so we just have to keep things in perspective. You see Allie's Weeds relocated to the McGowan House, and she says her walk-in business has increased by half. Her business is really doing well there. And you see Another Road Brewing is going to be opening. The bicycle shop has opened, and I hear he's doing well. Desert Frog has relocated. The Eclipse Trading Post has opened a new store on 11th. Fashion Park Kitchens has relocated and redone a building up here next to the chocolate shop. We have a new nail salon at the photography. Kazoo Photography has relocated and expanded. The Uptown Snug has opened and is doing fantastic. Their ribbon cutting is tomorrow. You see lots of positives going on, especially in the Uptown. And sometimes people say, "Well, all those empty storefronts." It's transitioning. And the businesses that are coming in are doing well. So we have a lot to celebrate. You go out to the MEC and you see all the construction out there. You see the very visible changes going on on 7th Avenue. The Lebeda building is looking good. They've started. Pardon? The donut shop on the other end. So we have a lot to be proud of and a lot to be happy about, and we just keep things in perspective and keep working hard to do the best for our city and our citizens. So thank you, everyone, for your patience. This was another long meeting. We have a lot of things that we have to deal with. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.